Welcome to Life Stories, where we share tales of love, growth, and the unexpected twists that make life unforgettable. In today's story, we'll take you on a journey of family, resilience, and the power of humility. What happens when a sister's obsession with status leads to a dramatic wedding outburst? And how does love and truth reveal the real meaning of success and happiness? Stay tuned as we dive into this heartwarming and transformative tale. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to start today's story and never miss another inspiring journey with Life Stories. Let's begin. I always knew my sister, Amanda, would try to ruin my wedding. What I didn't expect was the sheer spectacle she would make of it. Let me start from the beginning. My name is Jessica Hart, and this is the story of how my sister's obsession with status and appearances led to one of the most unforgettable moments of my life. It all began when I met Ryan, the love of my life, at a cozy Italian bistro in Chicago. At least, that's what I told everyone. The truth, however, was far more intriguing. Though we agreed to keep it under wraps, Ryan worked as a waiter there not because he had to, but because he wanted to. He was the heir to the Carmichael restaurant empire, a legacy of high-end establishments spanning the country. Ryan believed in earning his place within the family business. Starting from the ground up, washing dishes, prepping food, serving tables, he wanted to know every detail about how the restaurants operated. When I told Amanda about Ryan, her reaction was predictably disdainful. "A waiter," she sneered, as if the word itself was an insult. "Really, Jessica, with your education and background, you could do so much better." Amanda had married Eric right out of college, a wealthy investment banker who flaunted his success. To her, love was secondary to status, and the idea that her younger sister, a Columbia-educated teacher, would marry someone in the service industry was, apparently, a personal affront. But Amanda didn't know the full story about Ryan. She didn't know about the penthouse overlooking the Chicago skyline we had already chosen together or the private island where we'd spend our honeymoon. And honestly, I preferred it that way. Ryan and I had agreed to let people think what they wanted until after the wedding. "Let them judge," Ryan would say, his warm brown eyes sparkling with mischief. "It's more fun that way." The morning of the wedding dawned clear and beautiful. Our ceremony was set to take place in a charming, intimate church on the outskirts of Chicago. It was everything I'd dreamed of, elegant, simple, and full of love. As I stood in the bridal suite, my mother fussing with my veil, Amanda burst in like a thunderstorm, her designer dress wrapped around her like armor. "You can't go through with this," she declared, her voice shrill. "Do you even know what people are saying? That you've lost your mind? The only person saying that is you." "Amanda," my mother replied tiredly, her patience with Amanda's drama long since worn thin. "Mom, she's throwing her life away. He probably just wants her money." Amanda spat, her eyes blazing. I couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity of it. My modest teacher's salary compared to Ryan's hidden billions? It was almost comical. But Amanda took my laughter as defiance. "Fine," she snapped. "Ruin your life. But don't come crying to me when you're living in some cramped apartment above a restaurant." If she only knew. I bit my tongue, remembering my promise to Ryan. The truth would come out soon enough. The ceremony began as perfectly as I could have hoped. Ryan stood at the altar, looking dashing in his tailored suit, a suit Amanda probably assumed was rented. The church was filled with friends and family, though noticeably fewer on my side. Amanda had managed to convince several relatives that my wedding wasn't worth attending. But I didn't care. As I walked down the aisle toward Ryan, his smile steadied me, reminding me of why we were there. Then came the moment that would be etched into everyone's memory. If anyone knows any reason why these two should not be joined in marriage, speak now or forever hold your peace. Amanda stood. "This is ridiculous," she shouted, her voice echoing through the church. "Jessica, you're making a huge mistake. You're better than this. You're marrying a waiter." For God's sake. How pathetic can you be? The air in the church grew thick with tension. My heart raced. But Ryan squeezed my hand. A subtle reassurance that we were in this together. Should we tell her? He whispered. His lips twitching with the hint of a smile. I shook my head slightly. Not yet, I murmured. Amanda wasn't finished. She stormed down the aisle, her expensive heels clicking sharply against the stone floor. Everyone here knows this is a joke. Jessica, you were supposed to be the smart one, the successful one. And now look at you, throwing it all away on some server. Amanda, our father warned from the front pew, his voice firm. But she ignored him. When this all falls apart, don't expect any sympathy from me. You've made your bed, probably a very cheap one, now lie in it. With that final venomous remark, she spun on her heel and stormed out of the church, leaving stunned silence in her wake. The minister cleared his throat awkwardly. Shall we continue? I looked up at Ryan, his eyes dancing with love and amusement. Yes, I said firmly. Let's continue. And we did. The rest of the ceremony was perfect, made all the sweeter by Amanda's absence. But as we exchanged rings and sealed our vows, I couldn't help but think of the scene waiting to unfold at the reception. Amanda had no idea how spectacularly wrong she was about Ryan, and I couldn't wait for her to find out. As we left the church and climbed into the vintage Rolls-Royce, a car from Ryan's personal collection. Though everyone assumed it was rented, I could feel a mix of emotions bubbling inside me. Relief, joy, and just a touch of anticipation. The reception was going to be unforgettable. And not just because it marked the beginning of my life with Ryan. It was time for the truth about Ryan to come out. And I knew Amanda would show up. She couldn't resist the chance to critique what she imagined would be a cheap, embarrassing affair. The drive to the reception was filled with light-hearted conversation. Ryan kept my nerves in check, his steady presence grounding me as the city's streets blurred past us. Ready for Act 2, he murmured in my ear, his voice warm and full of amusement. I smiled, thinking of what awaited us. More than ready. Do you think she'll actually come? Oh, she'll come, he said with confidence. People like Amanda can't resist a chance to feel superior. She'll be there, even if it's just to gloat. He wasn't wrong. Amanda thrived on her role as the family critic, always quick to point out flaws and offer her unsolicited judgments. But this time, she was walking into a reveal that would leave her speechless. When we arrived at the Carmichael family's flagship restaurant, the grand facade loomed before us. All elegant marble and glittering windows. The restaurant, known for hosting celebrities and dignitaries, had been closed to the public for the day. Its doors were now open exclusively to our guests, though most didn't yet realize the significance of the venue. As we stepped inside, the opulence of the reception space was breathtaking. Crystal chandeliers bathed the room in warm light, casting a glow over the hand-painted murals and polished marble floors. White-gloved servers circulated with trays of champagne, each bottle worth more than Amanda likely imagined Ryan made in a month. Guests began to arrive, their murmurs of surprise filling the air. How could they afford this place? Someone whispered. That's when Amanda made her entrance. She arrived late. Of course. Probably expecting to find a budget banquet hall with mismatched linens and discount catering. Instead, she froze in the doorway, her perfectly made-up face twisting in confusion. There must be some mistake, she announced loudly, making her way toward me. This is the Carmichael. They don't do wedding receptions, ever. They made an exception, Ryan said smoothly, appearing at my side. For family. Before Amanda could respond, an older man in an impeccable suit approached us. Antonio Carmichael, the patriarch of the family and a legend in the restaurant industry, rarely made public appearances. Yet here he was, embracing Ryan warmly. Ryan, Antonio said with a smile, his voice rich with pride. My grandson, finally married to his beautiful Jessica. The room fell silent. Amanda's champagne glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the marble floor. Her face drained of color as she stammered. "Grandson? What do you mean? Grandson?" Antonio turned to her, his sharp eyes taking in her stunned expression. "Ah. You must be the sister who caused such a scene at the church. Tell me, what was it you called my grandson?" "Ah. Yes, some server." Amanda's jaw dropped as the weight of the revelation hit her. Ryan wasn't just a waiter, he was the heir to one of the largest restaurant empires in the country. The Carmichael Group owned hundreds of high-end establishments worldwide, along with hotels, vineyards, and a significant real estate portfolio. I didn't know," Amanda stammered, her voice trembling. "Clearly," Antonio said dryly, "perhaps next time. You'll remember that true class isn't about what someone does for a living, but how they treat others." I looked at Amanda, torn between pity and satisfaction. The guests began whispering, piecing together the truth. The wedding reception they'd doubted was now a lavish spectacle. And the waiter Amanda had dismissed so readily was the heir to a fortune far beyond what she could have imagined. As the whispers grew louder, Ryan leaned close to me. "Do you think she's learned her lesson yet?" he asked softly. "Not quite," I replied, watching Amanda struggle to find her footing. The night wasn't over yet, and there were still plenty of lessons to be learned. The collective gasp from the room still echoed in my ears as Amanda stood there, utterly stunned. Her normally confident demeanor crumbled under the weight of the revelation. The guests around her, the same people who had heard her outburst at the church, now stared in disbelief. For the first time in years, Amanda looked small not in stature but in spirit. "You let me believe," she began, her voice cracking as she tried to make sense of what had just unfolded. "You let me embarrass myself. You let me make a fool of myself in front of everyone." Ryan's calm response silenced the room. "Would it have mattered?" he asked, his voice measured but firm. "Would you have treated me any differently if you'd known who I really was?" Amanda opened her mouth to respond but hesitated. She didn't need to answer, the truth was already clear. Her entire worldview revolved around wealth and status, and she had judged Ryan unfairly because of it. Antonio, still standing nearby, spoke up, his words sharp but tinged with wisdom. "That's precisely why they didn't tell you. True friends, true family, show their loyalty and love regardless of wealth or title. You've spent years judging people by their appearances. Amanda, perhaps this is the lesson you needed." The weight of his words hung in the air, and I could see Amanda struggling to hold back tears. Around us, the guests began to return to their conversations, though their curious glances lingered. For them, the revelation had added a layer of intrigue to what was already a remarkable evening. I placed a gentle hand on Amanda's arm, but she shook it off, still grappling with the humiliation she felt. "You could have told me," she said weakly. "I'm your sister." "Yes," I said softly, "and that's exactly why this hurts so much. You've never given me the chance to make my own choices without tearing them apart. You couldn't even be happy for me unless you approved of my decisions. Don't you see how unfair that is?" Amanda looked away, unable to meet my gaze. I could tell she wanted to defend herself, to explain her actions. But the truth was undeniable. She had spent so long chasing an image of perfection that she couldn't see the value in anything or anyone that didn't fit her narrow definition of success. Antonio cleared his throat, breaking the tension. "If you'd like to leave, no one would blame you," he said, his tone both kind and pointed. "You've provided enough entertainment for one day." Amanda's face flushed a deep red. Her eyes darted around the room, taking in the judgmental stares of the other guests. The same people who had witnessed her dramatic outburst at the church were now witnessing her very public humiliation. I should go," she muttered, turning to leave. But before she could take a step, Ryan surprised us all. "Stay," he said, his voice steady but filled with quiet strength. The room fell silent again as everyone turned to look at him. Amanda froze, her eyes wide with disbelief. Stay. Ryan repeated. Enjoy the reception. Consider this a chance to start over, to see people for who they really are, not what they own or what they do for a living. Amanda blinked, clearly taken aback by his unexpected kindness. For a moment, it seemed like she might argue, but instead, she nodded slowly. I'd like that, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. And, Ryan added, his expression softening, I think you owe Jessica an apology, don't you? Amanda's face crumpled, and for the first time in years, I saw genuine remorse in her eyes. I'm sorry, she said, her voice trembling. To both of you. I've been awful. Yes. You have. Antonio said dryly, though there was a glimmer of approval in his tone. But perhaps that apology can wait until after the first dance. I believe my grandson and his bride have waited long enough to celebrate properly. Ryan took my hand and led me to the dance floor, the room's tension finally beginning to ease. As the music began and we swayed together under the glow of the chandeliers, I caught a glimpse of Amanda standing alone in the corner. She watched us, a quiet figure beneath the dazzling light, her expression unreadable. She'll never completely change, Ryan murmured, reading my thoughts as he always did. No, I agreed. But maybe, just maybe, she'll think twice before judging someone based on their job or their status ever again. As the music swelled, I let myself get lost in the moment. The reception was everything I could have hoped for, elegant, heartfelt, and full of love. And though Amanda's journey was far from over, tonight was a beginning for all of us. And so, what began as a day overshadowed by judgment and drama ended in growth, understanding, and the quiet hope for change. Amanda's journey to humility taught her and all of us that true value lies not in wealth or status, but in character, empathy, and hard work. As for Ryan and me, we moved forward together, living simply, cherishing each moment, and finding joy in the life we built on love and trust. Amanda's transformation was proof that people can change when given the right opportunity. And while her journey wasn't easy, it reminded me that sometimes the best lessons come from the hardest moments. Thank you for listening to this story of love, redemption, and the power of seeing people for who they truly are. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more inspiring life stories. See you in the next video.